Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity are going to talk about Iraq and talk about just the idea of war. And as they're talking, this is definitely going to make intellectuals across the country cry. So there are about 899 corrections that I'll have to make when we come back here. But also, see if you can catch Hannity's complete contradiction towards the end.
You've heard of this group, ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Even Al-Qaeda doesn't want anything to do with them because they're so brutal in terms of their execution of even their fellow terrorists. That's how bad they are. This is now the next phase for us that we're going to have to deal with?
No, you know what? We don't have the resources to deal with it anymore. We should have gone in after September 11th, taken care of the bad guys, killed them, not rebuilt them. I think it's real hubris to think that we can bring democracy and peace to a region that doesn't understand it, doesn't want it. You have to. Freedom is something I really, truly believe you have to earn.
Yes, but what are we to do? If we believe the 9/11 Commission report, you saw what happened on 9/11. They were at war with us, we weren't at war with them. To me, this is a question of if we decide to send brave men and women into harm's way, finish the job and win the war.
Right. You do finish the job, but we weren't finishing the job under George W. Bush. We're certainly not finishing the job now. Now we're opening up the doors and saying, hey, you bad guys, you're probably pretty good. Go ahead. Go back home.
The surge actually worked, though.
No, it did. But remember, Sean, would any of us in 2001, if I would have said, hey, we're still going to be fighting this, and we're going to be fighting this in 2010, 2014, would any of us have said that's a good idea?
Yeah, but this is the politically correct world we live in. If you're going to fight, you fight with overwhelming force, and you defeat your enemy.
I am with you.
So did you catch the contradiction from Hannity at the end? He goes, oh, look, man, the surge worked. I'm telling you, the surge, it was just fantastic. It was great. We were able to make it a peaceful area. And then, like, a couple seconds later, he's like, man, this politically correct world, if we were going to go in, we should have used overwhelming force, like use, like a surge or something. Within seconds, the dude contradicts himself. That's how unintellectual Sean Hannity is. Isn't that amazing? He's praising the surge. Oh, the surge was great. It worked. It was fantastic. It made the Middle East totally peaceful. And then just a few seconds later, he's like, see, this is the problem. We were all PC and we didn't do like overwhelming force, which would have helped us win. We should have done like a surge, maybe, something like that. It would have worked. And then also, man, we did a fucking surge. We did a surge. And right now, the Middle East is still in this horrible scenario. No matter what, there's always going to be violence there because the Sunnis and the Shias are going to be at each other's throats, and there are going to be warring factions. Okay? The idea that America should just stay there forever. No, there's nobody in Alabama or Kentucky or Hawaii or California or New York who should risk their lives because of some old school conflict that dates back generations that we have nothing to do with. And when Hannity says, well, we should finish the job with the war on terror, well, what does that mean? What does that entail? A war on terror, waging a war on a tactic, that's like saying we're going to wage a war on murder and basically try to eliminate murder. Well, what's the obvious response to that? You're never going to eliminate murder. That's impossible. That's like we're going to eliminate burglary or robbery or any type of crime like that, speeding. It's not possible to eliminate it. It's not possible to finish the job because there's always going to be terrorism. So the idea is you limit it as much as possible. And how do you go about doing that? Well, to people like Sean Hannity, the idea is perpetual war. Never stop fighting a war. Stay in Iraq for, we were there for over a decade. Stay there even longer and just continue to stay there. Continue to have America go around the world and enforce our will at the barrel of a gun and act like an imperialist nation. That's a terrible idea because, again, that actually is one of the sources of the problems. Because when you do that, oftentimes you kill civilians. When you kill civilians, you breed hatred against America. And then people join the Taliban and Al-Qaeda and ISIS in higher numbers. And there was a brief second, the part about Beck that's so furious there is that gets me so furious is that for a second, he seemed like he was being reasonable. And he was saying, like, well, we shouldn't try to bring peace everywhere and yada, yada, yada. But then when Sean Hannity pushes back and he's like, well, we should have finished the job and we should have done a better surge and to continue to fight. He's like, oh, I totally agree. 100%. You bitch. Stick by your guns. Either you're a non-interventionist or you're an interventionist. Get your shit straight. And then finally, again, this is the same thing that McCain did yesterday. Today, Hannity's doing it. This is why I have zero respect for these absolute clowns who don't know anything about foreign policy, yet they want to talk about foreign policy and give their opinion. Hannity, a few months ago, was calling Obama weak for not enforcing what he called his red line in Syria. In other words, Hannity wanted to get involved in Syria and do some sort of attacks against Assad. Well, if we were going to attack Assad, our allies would have been ISIS. So Sean Hannity a few months ago was barking to be allies with ISIS, and now all of a sudden he wants to attack ISIS. So which is it, dude? Which is it? That shows you that all they're doing is politically convenient partisan attacks. However they feel like they could call Obama stupid and dumb and wrong and incompetent and this and that, they will do that. Regardless of the fact that they're contradicting themselves. A few months ago, yeah, ISIS, at least they're fighting against Assad, they're on our side, and that way we'll work with them side by side, and yada yada. But now that they're moving in on Iraq, oh God, ISIS, we need to attack them. Funny how before you wanted to be allies, now you want to attack them.